Okay, we're recording.
All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Protection and Policy for October 25th, 2021. We will take a roll call. Alder Stoyer is here. Alder Stevens.
Here.
Alder Lefebvre.
Here.
Alder Vanderleest.
Here.
And I also want to note that Alders Dorf, Gerlach, and Johnson and Burnett are here as well. Approval of agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by
Second.
Vanderleest, seconded by Lefebvre. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously. I can move on, Mary?
Sorry, just one moment.
Are we ready?
Yes, please. Go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you. Approved. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Vanderleest,
Second.
seconded by Stevens. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That passes unanimously.
All right.
Nope. All right, Mary. Regular business, consideration with possible action on a request by Alder Lefebvre to look at varying aspects of Green Bay's licensed alcohol establishments with a discussion on a moratorium previously discussed at the February Protection and Policy meeting. Alder Lefebvre, did you want to start, and then we can move around a little bit.
Yeah, as I said before, I want to thank them for the thorough job that the department did. I mean, there's a lot to go through, and I appreciate it. The reason I brought this up is just that if you did look at some of the maps, it would show like University Avenue. I mean, there's just dot after dot. And there's some other areas too. And I was just concerned that we're putting too much into certain areas. And I just, I'm bothered by that. And I would just like to see maybe limiting in some of these areas that are, it seems like they're saturated already with enough alcohol establishments selling alcohol that we can kind of back off a little bit. That's all I'm looking for. Not
Okay.
a moratorium across the city. It's just, let's kind of watch where we are allowing these establishments.
Okay.
And I do have a question. It said welfare checks on some of these businesses. What does that mean?
So I don't have the report in front of me, but I did go through it last week. And what you're going to find on there is like, if you look at the festival foods or like the grocery stores, you're going to get a lot of like retail theft calls there. So that's why those calls are like pages long. The welfare checks are if, say, somebody saw a couple arguing for a welfare check, or you have somebody that may be suicidal as a welfare check came there and said, hey, I need to talk to the police. Or you get somebody that's staggered in, maybe intoxicated. Hey, we'd like you to come check the welfare. It's basically that, just to check on somebody's well-being and to make sure that they're okay.
Okay, I kind of figured that's what it was. I just wanted to make sure. And then, what was the other thing? Oh, shoots. I'll come back to it.
Yeah,
Well,
in that too, if you look, we didn't really have a lot of bar issues, but if you look, you could see where Crown and Common and the Dual Sports flared up. And then we kind of got on top of that and they worked with us. And I think the last calls we had there was at the end of August. So,
right. Okay. I'm going to kind of open this up to the other alders and to the committee. ideas or questions or concerns that you might have, and we'll have a conversation about this. I've been on this committee for a number of years, and I've seen the maps too, where there are concentrations, on West Mason farther out past 41. You've got Lime Kiln, you've got Broadway, you've got Main Street, East Main or East Mason. There are concentrations, so we're aware of that. And I think one of the things that comes into play when Green Bay became a community, when Fort Howard and Green Bay consolidated in 1895, Fort Howard came in, and the moratorium came in with them. So there's very little alcohol establishments between Broadway all the way out to Taylor. So that is one of the reasons why you see such a concentration on the east side. And there have been one or two that have come into the Fort Howard moratorium. But, for the most part, a lot of these businesses have been here for quite some time. I understand where Alder Lefebvre's coming from as far as the numbers. And I was going to ask Lieutenant Allen, without, or even Attorney Bungert, the number of Class B establishments that we have in Green Bay proper. Isn't it like 157, something like that, off the top of your head? Just looking at numbers, and I can go through the list as well, but I thought it was something like that. Committee or alders, does anybody want to chime in on this? Go ahead, Alder Vanderleest.
If you look at our committee over the last couple of years, the establishments that have caused a lot of problems, they lost their license. Basically, some of them lost their license because they weren't taking care of their business. I think overall, if you look at University Avenue, I think it's a pretty clean run. We don't have a lot of complaints. Same way with Broadway. Broadway's cleaned up its act quite a bit. And, I don't think that, we're having a real problem with the bars. I think, the Tavern League has done a good job of helping out as far as, being responsible, trying to get bar owners responsible. I think the community's doing a pretty good job. I don't hear a lot of complaints. I haven't had no complaints in my district about, people going to establishment and they thought it was unruly, or, the ones that we did have that were unruly, that was on Washington Street, we pulled their license. So I think the overall, the police department's doing a good job. They're following up, and the local citizens I think they're comfortable with what's going on. And University Avenue is a long corridor, so I understand where they got a lot of bars. And it just like Main Street, there's a few on Main as well, and Broadway. And I think we're doing fine.
Okay.
Personally,
I remember when I came to Green Bay in 1981, Broadway was really pretty decrepit, and there were a lot of issues and problems in that. But I do agree with you, Alder Vanderleest, in the sense that it is better. And I was going to ask Lieutenant Allen if you felt like Alder Vanderleest did, that at least, I know you still have issues with some bars and that at times, and alcohol is a drug, so it's a legal drug. But considering what everything is going on with that, do you find that for the most part, Green Bay has been doing a pretty good job? You feel a little more comfortable with some of the situation with the bars now than maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah, and I mean, we're fortunate enough that, the majority of bar owners, when a problem arises, they call us, and then we meet with them, and they're willing to work with us and take our advice or our help to alleviate some of the issues they may be having. I mean, probably the best case that we had over the summer was Crown and Common and Dual Sports, and they were a little apprehensive at first, but then we met with them, sat down with them, and they were real receptive. And within probably a month time, we had everything corrected over there, and we haven't heard anything from them since the end of August. So we're just fortunate that way, that people are willing to work with us and being accepting of, hey, we're trying to be a partner, we're not trying to be your enemy or try to shut you down.
Right. All right. Any other alders? Alder Lefebvre, go ahead, and then.
Yeah, I was wondering, these are businesses, restaurants that are selling the alcohol. Do you think that they have more police calls than retail, like a Kohl's or a Penny's? Is there a difference?
You're not gonna get calls like that. I mean, you'll get, I guess if you're asking for like the retail theft and the welfare checks and stuff like that, you'd have to go through and cross out all those and, but as far as, yeah, like your grocery stores are gonna have a ton of calls just because of the retail theft volume some of those places take. So it's gonna be slanted in a way like that a bar or an alcohol establishment, restaurant's probably not gonna have. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, I mean, Kohl's and the JC Penney's and stuff like that, yeah, they're probably gonna be up there with the festivals, the pick and saves, for retail thefts. They're probably gonna be across the board, close to the same.
Right.
None of that
Yeah.
stuff's alcohol related. It's just different call. That was everything that
Right.
anyone who holds a alcohol license, those are the calls that we responded to those establishments.
Yeah, I see some of them were very high, like 165 calls within 3 years. After a while, I mean, how do you base I assume there's costs that they have to pay for those calls?
No, I mean, we usually for any of the retail thefts, those are fines that go to the suspect,
Mhm.
who's the person we arrested. But as far as responding to a festival or a Kohl's or something like that, we don't charge for that. But if we get to a bar that becomes a nuisance property, then yeah, we can start billing for services there.
Could I throw in a question? No, Alder LaFave?
Yeah,
I
I was just gonna say that I hope you do charge because some of these, I mean, really, my gosh, I can't believe how many calls. And it's a variety of calls. I could see some of it, for alarm. Well, I think for alarms, aren't they charged for those?
Yeah, we're looking at starting to charge for those again.
Yeah,
Right. Alder LaFave, can I ask something, please?
Sure,
Actually, I wanted to ask Alder Johnson. You're on Broadway, many establishments down there. Like I said, when I first came to town in '81, Broadway was not a real good scene, so to speak. It seems like it's really cleaned up, the whole, downtown area. I go downtown with friends. I feel comfortable, etc. Can you add anything to that, or just your general feel of the number of establishments? Is it too many? Do you feel everything's going well?
I think before we consider any new moratoriums or restrictions, I think we got to really understand what to solve. And certainly to your point, Alder Steuer, I think there probably was a problem that was identified in this court many years ago when that moratorium was created, but that problem, I would argue, certainly has been solved because I don't see really problems or challenges. And I don't think it should really come as a surprise to anybody that other licensed establishments want to be located next to similar types of businesses. That's what creates destination districts. And you're going to see a higher concentration of those when that happens. But generally speaking, I'm just not necessarily a fan of regulation where regulation doesn't need to exist. We even though the moratoriums exist down here, you can still get it, right? It just creates another step and another part of the process where as long as city council, I think it's 2/3, you can override that moratorium. And for really an area that's, in my opinion, not problematic at all. I'd be curious to know though, if there's, I think about the Fort Howard moratorium, and I know that kind of came into play, if I recall correctly, when, the two cities merged. I mean, is that something that has to indefinitely exist, or how does that work?
I think some of it's changed. We've one or two establishments have come in. We've done it on a case by case basis, but that really goes all the way back to that time period. And if you look on the map, there's very few on the west side. Military Avenue, you've got a couple, but and down by Lombardi.
I mean, and ultimately where I go with that, Alder Steuer, is do moratoriums work? I just don't know the answer to that question. And again, before I would contemplate something, I'd really need to, have a firm understanding again, what problem is it that we're trying to solve? And then is a moratorium the appropriate response to that?
Right. Well, I think Alder LaFave brings up something, and like I said, I've seen the maps. We've all seen the maps of the concentrations throughout the city. And I think Alder Vanderleest brings up a very good point when he speaks of the Brown County Tavern League, checking their own. And they've done a really good job of policing their own bars, their own establishments. And like I said, when we have our committees meet, every other week, the police usually come in and say there haven't been any violations, or there might have been one violation. We haven't had a whole slew of those. So I feel generally pretty good about it. I understand that, like anything else, if you have alcohol, there could be some issues and problems that come up, but it is legal. And, I don't know if I agree with you. I don't know if a moratorium, will do much more right now. I don't know what Alder LaFave is looking for a total limit on establishments coming in from and just in the moratorium areas, because those are the concentration areas, and we already have some listed. I don't know where you want to go with that. I feel comfortable with the way things are right now. Is it perfect? No, but nothing is. But I don't know if adding more of a moratorium is going to help, or changing the moratoriums. We usually do a case-by-case basis when a bar comes up where we have to deal with it. Alder LaFave, go ahead.
I want to know too, the list of the moratoriums we have here. We got the Maine moratorium, the Broadway moratorium, and the downtown moratorium. And then they got Fort Howard. Are those still all in existence?
I can talk, Attorney Bungert, I believe so. Can you just follow up on that? I would say yes.
Yes, they are all in existence. I don't believe we have any moratoriums that have expired in any way.
And if you look at the maps, let's see, which one had the maps? Was that the last one? I'm trying to remember. No, it was not. No.
It's called liquor license.
If you look at the maps that were provided, you'll see where they're really concentrated. It's not in those moratorium areas. It's definitely not in Alder Vanderleest's area. It's along University Avenue in Maine, going to downtown. That's where you're having the concentrations. And, I just say, well, they say a moratorium to try to keep that. That's the amount that we have there, and we don't allow any more in. That's what I'd let in those areas. But if everyone doesn't want to go along with the moratorium, I would like if this committee itself would limit any new, and if somebody does give up their license, not allow another one in. Because like I said, if you look at the map, that's where you got the concentrations of all these places where you can get liquor. It's not just bars, and it's not just restaurants. It's, liquor stores, it's gas stations, it's convenience stores are selling liquor now. It just, it's exploding in those areas. And that's where I would like to limit. I don't want more coming in. And maybe we can
Well, one of the areas that you're looking at, the moratoriums are out there, the ones that exist. But, if you look, University Avenue does not have one.
Mm-mm.
And Lime Kiln doesn't have one, and the southern part of Main Street does not have one either.
Yeah.
You got East Mason. So you have a couple areas that are concentrations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not averse to seeing if we could kind of keep it status quo as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the committee or other all about that. Alder Dorf.
Thank you. So I'm assuming, is this somewhat data driven? I would like to echo Alder Johnson's question. What problem are we trying to solve? That report of 591 pages was difficult for me to understand as far as show me where the problem is. If the police are telling us there is a problem in a certain area that we need to react to, then we should do that. I'm not sure that I understood that report well enough to say that. So can I ask Alder LaFave a question, please? Chair.
Sure. Yes, go ahead.
So Alder LaFave, what is the problem we're trying to solve? Just so I get it in my head. I don't understand.
It's simple. It's the concentration in an area. The really bad part, it's only about 2-3 miles of university where, what did I say again? I forgot, I counted them. I should have wrote it down. How many establishments there that sell alcohol? And I think just last year, I don't think they opened up because of the pandemic, but another one, Apply University Avenue. And I think it's just too many in one area.
Is supply and demand, I mean, there's, we're in a capitalistic society, supply and demand. If there is the demand, then the businesses are profitable and then they stay there. Why is it bad to have so many in the area if they're still being successful businesses? What is the problem we're seeing from the businesses?
Alder LaFave?
I don't know. I don't know. I just find that it's interesting that we stack it all in two areas. I'd rather see it spread out. The problem, it exploded in the last few years. There used to be a couple on University, a couple bars. There was one liquor store. There was one, I don't even think the gas stations did. I think the gas stations started applying for liquor licenses. Everyone seems to jump on the bandwagon that we need to have alcohol everywhere. And I find that, I don't know, I don't think you need that really to sell. And some of these stores, I mean, we have, isn't it Family Dollar or one of, they're selling alcohol. Wait a minute. That's not your main, that wasn't your main business. That's not what people, you shouldn't go to one of those stores to get your alcohol. I mean, it's just, to me, I just find that kind of oxymoron.
I've
But,
lived in Green Bay 40 years, and I have driven up and down University. I've even gone to a couple establishments there. And yeah, there are a few. Yes, I agree with you. But is it like you can't turn around without seeing a bar? Like I said, there are some areas, Lime Kiln is very concentrated. Parts of University are in parts of the south side of Maine, on Board Mason Street. But you look at Broadway, I mean, look at there's many establishments there. Downtown, there's many along Main Street, just east of the river. And we have moratoriums. And like I said, the police have said that there haven't been a whole lot of problems. The Tavern League is kind of watching very well. They're taking care of their own. So I kind of agree with Alder Dorff, listening, where's the issue? I know you're saying it's a concentration, but, I don't know if you want our committee to say, look, no more bars at all on University. I mean, it's kind of a tough one.
it's not.
I'm not
it's
sure. I'm not sure what kind of action you want us to take right now.
Yeah, I just want a discussion on it.
Okay.
Just to get everyone's ideas, what they think.
Right.
It's not the idea, there's only a couple bars on University, really, in that district, and one liquor store. That's it. The rest are grocery stores, gas stations. What's the other one? That are in this one. They were another one to be a grocery store, and they needed the liquor, they felt, to sell groceries. So it's not the bars that I'm complaining there. The bars, and you said the Bar Association Tavern League has been really taking the problems. Really, they know there's a problem, and they stepped up, which I'm glad they did. So it's not the bars. I have no issue with the bars. Even that liquor store. At Christmas time, I go to that liquor store. That's the only time that I will get something for the holiday. And
Comment,
That's a
it's not
choice.
bad.
That's your personal choice, though, too. So,
yeah, but now you're getting it in everything. I mean, you're getting it, like I said, a Dollar Tree or Family Dollar selling liquor. Everybody thinks they have to sell liquor to make some profit. I don't know. I don't understand it. But
Well,
that's, I mean.
You'd have to
differing
change it at
so
the
much.
federal, you'd have to change it
So
at the
with
federal
this-
level. you
Yeah, I
know?
would just like us to take account of this.
Mhm.
And I just don't want it coming up in those areas. Because I think
Well,
we
we
have
do-
enough. We have enough.
we
We
will
don't need
look-
any more.
We will look at case by case basis as when people come in, and we'll take each one individually. And I understand your concerns. But with the Class B bars establishments, that's normally where you might see the problems, where fights or alcohol, driving, whatever, any types of issues. With the stores, generally the people then go home. So the problem that I think maybe some of the bars might offer, late at night. So I don't know. I don't see it being a huge problem right now, but I do appreciate the discussion. I don't know, any other alders have anything to say? Otherwise, we should move on pretty soon on this.
Just make one comment, Mark.
Go ahead, John.
I think that, if your businesses are being lawful, following the rules, following the regulations, and they're not creating any kind of problems, they should be able to be in business. It's free enterprise. And I know the gas stations, small retail places, they are selling liquor. And I don't think following the laws, the main thing that they have to follow is that they do card ID as far as age. And, that's their main, the main reason that they're checking all the IDs and doing it lawfully. And we haven't had a lot of complaints on any of these as far as selling to underage people. I know they do sting operations, and I don't think there's a big thing that, the market kind of dictates how much retail is going to be needed. And, just like the number of gas stations that have come in. Quick Trip has come in with a lot of gas stations, and they sell liquor, they sell just about everything. And it's supply and demand in how they operate their business, and legitimate business should be able to operate. And I don't have any complaints in my district about, the liquor part of it, I have gas stations that are selling it and what have you. I just feel that, overall, we've done a pretty good job in the community. And if I think that, if we have problems, we should address those problems. And the Green Bay Police Department is working well with us, telling us how many liquor violations they've had. And it's been very minimal. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I got an idea too. Maybe to ease these areas, maybe we need to take the moratoriums off some of these other areas. I don't know. And if you look at these other areas where the moratoriums are, there's businesses that are doing just fine and they're not selling liquor. They're doing just fine. I mean, you don't really need liquor to make a profit.
Well,
there probably is a better profit that they have on liquor. I don't know why they're selling.
There's a lot of establishments so that will be a restaurant and they're a restaurant and they will serve food along with alcohol as a side. It's not like you're going in to get alcohol and then eat. There's quite a few establishments like that right now. So, if you go out to dinner, if you want a glass of wine, I don't see any problem with that at all. So, I would say, Alder Lefebvre, I think we need to move on from this, but I agree in certain areas. We've seen this for years. We work with our police. We work with our law department. We're working with the Brown County Tavern League. And I would say, I think they're doing a great job on all of that. If there is a problem, it will show, it'll manifest itself, and then we can deal with it at that time. But I would say right now, I'm going to move on right now. So anybody, unless somebody else has a comment, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to receive and place on file.
I'll second that. I said I wanted to really bring this up and have people really think about it. And when we do have new things come up in these areas, that we really scrutinize it and make sure if it's a right fit for that area.
We shall do that.
Alder Schreier,
Yes.
Alder Story, before you vote, I just wanted to clarify one point just so that everybody understood correctly, that the moratoriums don't necessarily function in a way of prohibiting issuance of liquor license altogether. They just regulate to ensure that the businesses or establishments that are receiving liquor licenses are of a certain nature, meaning that they are restaurants or serving food. So it's not straight up taverns that just have liquor licenses.
Yeah.
So the moratoriums don't prohibit them altogether. They just kind of regulate the type of business. that's
Business.
Right. Okay,
Wanted
thank
to
you.
make that clear. Yep.
I gotta go.
Thank you for
Put my
that.
light on.
All right, so we have a motion by Vanderleest and a second by Lefebvre to receive and place on file. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you again, Alder Lefebvre. So
I gotta go.
let me
put my
know when
light
you're
on.
ready. Okay. We're gonna move on. Let me know when you're ready, Mary.
All set. Thank you.
All right, number 2, possible action on an application for a Class A liquor and Class A beer license for Prosperity Liquor Inc. at 1970 University with a premises description as sales front and back room, currently licensed as DWS of Green Bay LLC. Staff?
Yes, Alder Steuer. Law department doesn't have an objection.
Joanne?
However, we did raise.
Hold on a
our-
second. There's something going on with Alder Lefebvre.
Can
Yeah.
someone mute Alder Lefebvre, please?
Yeah.
Okay, she's muted.
Thank you.
All right, so there are no statutory issues or violations that would prohibit the issuance of the liquor license. But one thing I did notice is that the applicant didn't list their residency or length of residency in the state. That is a requirement. The agent has to be residing within the state for at least 90 days. And that portion was left blank on their application. So I'm not.
Let me ask you this. First of all, is this an existing establishment right now?
I believe so. I would defer to Clerk Jeffries for that confirmation.
Yes, it is an existing establishment that the new owners are taking over.
Okay. Sealing, or is not putting your address down, is that a red flag by any means or what?
The address was put down, it's just the length of their residency. So one of the questions on the application is how long have you resided in the state? And that section was left blank.
Okay.
But
But you
they've
still don't
provided
have
a
it?
copy of their photo ID and completed all the other application elements. We just don't have any verification of the residency. It looks like the applicant is on in the meeting. So if we wanted to open the floor and ask.
Yes, yeah, I would.
I'll make a
Open
motion.
the floor.
Okay, motion by Lefebvre to open the floor, second by Vanderleest. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That passes. So the floor is now open. So come forward and all state your name and address for the record, and then we may ask a question or two of you.
Yes, this is Gurjeet Randhawa. I'm living in Sheboygan from March, and my address is Sheboygan, N6233 Woodland Road, Sheboygan, Wisconsin 53083.
Okay. All right. We were just a little concerned that maybe, have you lived in the state? Attorney Bunker just said that. Is that it?
Yes,
Yes, 90 days. So you mentioned March, so then that would be,
Okay. All right.
okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions of Ms. Rondewa?
Another question.
Anybody? Okay. All right. Nobody, I would entertain a motion to close the floor
Motion to close the floor.
by Vanderleest, seconded by Stevens. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? All right. Well, she's been in the state for 90 days at least, so we can't hold back because of that. So concerns about this at all? Anybody, any alders or other committee members? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Lefebvre. Do we have a second? Second by Vanderleest. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, I was gonna ask, police, you had no issue with this either?
No issue. We concur with law.
All right, thank you. All right, say aye. We all said aye, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, all right. So Mary, let me know when you're ready.
I'm all set. Thank you.
All right. Number three,
Chairman Stoyer,
yes.
this is Celestine. So if when it comes time for you to go into closed session to
Right.
discuss item 3, I'm just going to ask you to give me a few minutes. Lieutenant Allen, can you please make me a host of the meeting? So then I can take over the meeting, both the meeting managing and the Zoom meeting after that. So I will be in closed session. And we'll just work on that when you're ready, Alder.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, I might ask a general question before we have to decide on that. So I'm just gonna, number 3 is consideration with possible action on a petition to request and receive a full list of funders and donors to Law Forward and States United Democracy Center, Alder Burnett. Before I open to anybody, I was gonna ask Attorney Bungert. We did discuss this at council in closed session. What is your opinion as far as anything that we would discuss at all on this matter?
Yes, so my recommendation would be to any additional discussions on this item, because it was discussed in closed session in relation to the retention of outside counsel and the strategies surrounding that outside counsel hiring, that we do move into closed session.
All right. So Alder Dorf.
One question.
Yes, go ahead, Alder Dorf.
What if there is a motion that would not need to be discussed in closed session?
That's a possibility. Yeah, I've been thinking about, yeah, right. I've been thinking about this a little bit.
Really, the only proper motion with this item particularly would be to receive and place on file, because it is an item that was already discussed by council and voted on. And the only proper way to re-raise it would be a motion for reconsideration at council. And the proper party to raise that would be somebody who voted in the affirmative for the item originally, to move to reconsider the vote altogether. So bringing an additional agenda item isn't an appropriate way for Robert's rules to be able to reconsider or revisit an item that was already decided and voted on by the body.
All right, I'm Alder Lefebvre. I'm going to ask Alder Burnett initially. Yeah. Alder Burnett, you've heard this, so go ahead.
I mean, thank you, Chairman. I question that. I mean, really, it's a separate agenda item. I didn't reference anything specific. I didn't disclose anything. That was a closed session discussion. My request is something rather simple.
But it was specifically discussed as part of closed session discussions with respect to the retention of counsel, and that item was approved. Counsel has been retained. Representation has started. If the Alder wants to bring in a separate item to revisit that, again, the proper method would be to reconsider.
Attorney Bungert.
And because this discussion was in closed session initially in connection specifically to attorneys that were hired as outside counsel, it has to continue being in closed session.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Go ahead.
Attorney Bungert, I have labored quite a bit to try to get as much information that has been on my mind regarding our election out to be able to share to the public, whether that be my constituents, those who I answer to. And time and again, the council has gone behind closed doors and have hid behind attorney-client privilege when I just simply want to express to people concerns that I have. And regarding this particular agenda item, I do have concerns. What is my recourse? What would the penalty be for me to, or what would be a potential harm to me be if I felt like I needed to communicate my feelings on this subject to the public? What would the repercussions potentially be to a sitting council person?
I think it would be difficult to provide you advice on a broad theoretical problem like that, unless there's specific acts or actions. I can't honestly say what what would happen. There's obviously lots of different recourses. There's processes for removal. There's code of conduct violations. So it all really depends on what the act is. But if the alder is looking to take actions contrary to his duties and to council, at that point, there would probably need to be some conversations with the city attorney's office and potentially retaining counsel for yourself. I cannot provide you legal advice that would be going contrary to the body. As alders, yes, the city attorney's office does provide you legal advice and counsel and representation individually, but individually, collectively as a whole, as part of the organization, which is the city. The city is a corporation, municipal corporation. However, and as that, we are a living, breathing entity, and we're all parts of that entity. And so when we're providing advice to you individually as alders, as you are representatives of your constituents, but you are representatives of your constituents as part of a larger group. And the interest and the benefit and the existence and betterment of that group is what our duty is to protect. So I can't necessarily give you advice to be going against that.
That's fine. Mr. Chairman, and I've attempted to get advice from the law office several times, just for the record to show. And I feel like there are certain times where there are issues within city government where there's a conflict between protecting the city from any liability, we know that, but also disclosing information, concerns, or thoughts to the public. And time and again, I have attempted to do the honorable, ethical thing to share my thoughts on a particular subject. So now, and this is not talking about anything closed session, this relates to the agenda item. Now I feel like part of our legal team is a special interest group that has political motivations. So in order to share my thoughts on anything election related, I have to possibly confer with either directly a special interest group or our law department, which is now conferring with the special interest group. And I feel really disgusted by it all, quite frankly. And I don't care about what we talked about in closed session. We have hid behind closed session far too often. And I attempted to very professionally bring forward an idea, and it all relates to public disclosure of things that I do not feel comfortable with. And I've attempted to do it the correct way. And we have a special interest group. God only knows who's funding them. And I don't feel comfortable conferring with them. I don't care about what the law office says at this point. I have attempted numerous times to bring public transparency to this issue. And every single time I get shot down, misdirected, redirected. I'm tired of it.
Listen, just stay tuned here. This discussion's going to go on for a while. Alder LaFave, can I get Alder Gerlach to say something that I'll get you in there? Is that all right? Okay. Alder Gerlach?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to just have an opportunity to try to restate what I think I heard the attorney say, because and this would be for my benefit and for Alder Burnett's benefit. I think what I heard is that this was passed by City Council, and therefore it cannot be brought back for reconsideration by a lower body, such as a committee. It must be brought back in council, someone who supported it. So when we were in closed session, I shared your concerns, Alder Burnett, and I also wanted to know those things. I am one who voted for it. So I think what we're being told is, if you could convince me privately to bring this back at the next committee, the next council meeting, which I think is November 2nd, because I had voted for it, would have the right to bring it back and say, I'd like to reconsider this. Do I have that right, Attorney Bungert?
I believe so. I am looking up the ordinance itself for motion of consideration. It is in our ordinances under council procedure. I just want to verify what the timing restriction is before I can give you a full answer. You hold on 1 second.
Alder Burnett, after Attorney Bungert gives you her discussion on that, can I read would you like me to read your communication
if you could, Alderman Sawyer.
I will do that.
Real quick, I just want to say the first part was the most important part. I want you to.
I will read it. I will read it as is. I will read it as is.
From the agenda.
Okay, Attorney Bunger.
Yes, so a motion for reconsideration states that any member voting with the majority may move for a reconsideration of the vote of any question at that meeting, or may submit the motion in writing to the clerk up to 48 hours prior to the next succeeding meeting. This will allow for the item to be placed on the upcoming agenda and comply with open meetings laws requirements. The motion may not be acted upon until it appears on the agenda, and a 2/3 vote of the body is required for reconsideration.
So may I just
Right.
respond, since it was my question? So
Yes.
I'm right, then, that would be Alder Brunette's pathway, right? He would come to someone like me who voted with the majority and
Correct.
say, sit down and let me explain to you, let me show you my research, let me help you understand my position. And would you, because I think Alder Brunette, you voted against it, I don't know, but I think that's
Correct.
what we're being told is the.
Yes,
the-
that the proper method at this point would be for a motion to reconsider the original item. I would urge alders to go into closed session, as I do have additional information regarding the inquiry that Alder Brunette is making, and can share that information in closed session as the city attorney for this meeting, with respect to updates as to the representation and so forth, which.
Point of clarification, didn't you say it has to be before the next meeting? Didn't we already have the next meeting?
I'm not sure the timing of when this item was passed. So it would have to be within the next meeting of council, and it has to be placed within 48 hours.
But I
The
think we
motion-
had the next meeting. I think
No,
we
no,
already.
we didn't. Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
we
we
did.
voted on it, and then Alder Brunette, you brought it up at the next
At the
meeting.
next
Is
meeting.
that right?
Yeah, it's too
Go ahead.
late.
Oh,
It's
Okay.
too late.
Sorry.
Just as a point of consideration.
Where do we, Alder LaFave, go ahead. You've had your hand up for a while.
Yeah, I want to make a point here. We're talking about, okay, Alder Burnett says this is a very partisan group that we got, ideology one way. What would you say Mr. Gableman is, who's bringing this, all this lawsuits and that? He is very partisan. He actually, Voss, who is okaying this, actually met with Trump and discussed this. Come on. And Mr. Gableman attended Mr. Pillow guy's
Okay.
stupid thing he had. I'm sorry. No, I want to bring this up. We got partisan on one side, this is on the other. Let's just cut it. And you know what? I think we're just wasting our time talking about this because I don't think we have any standing to force them to give us their donors. People pay them. We can't do it. They are a legal corporation that they follow all the rules, regulations concerning this. We have no standing. We can't force them. There's nothing I don't think that we can do. Is there, Attorney Bunger? I don't think there's anything the city can force them to do.
Correct, that we cannot force, they are operating as a law firm, so like you said, they are bound to all the ethical rules and regulations that all attorneys are, regardless of their funding source. Again, as a private firm, we cannot, the council doesn't have authority to force them to turn over this information. I would like to say more with respect to the current representation and the updates, but again, that would need to be discussed in closed session.
Another thing, I think maybe Alder Burnett, if he does have more concerns and he wants to see if there's something he can be done after this, I would suggest that he talk to the city attorneys privately, have a discussion, and maybe, I don't know if he can as a citizen, get outside counsel. I don't know. He needs to discuss this with the city council, with the city corporate counsel, the law firm, and see and can't do if he wants to bring it further. I think what we should just do now is, I'm sorry, I'm just going to say, let's receive and place on file.
All right. Okay, let's hold on for a second. Alder Burnett, do you want me to read this text or your communication first or not?
Chairman,
Go ahead.
if the attorney has additional advice for us, then I suggest we go into closed session. Why are we gonna keep talking about this, keep talking about this? Let's just go right into closed session.
Cut it.
If the attorney
done.
has additional information for us and she
Well,
can
there's-
publicly
Right,
state it now.
if we get to that, all right, well, go ahead, Alder Burnett.
This is a clarification. Now, I submitted a petition on the proper channel through our city clerk. My communication to be put on the agenda, partly put on the official business on the city. I noticed that the meeting at some point was amended. If Attorney Bungar could kind of explain that process, because the motion, the communication that I submitted was parsed and chopped down to the point that it doesn't even kind of get the full intent of my original communication. Why was that?
So Alder Burnett, I can answer that question. So I did truncate it. Forgive me, so I won't do that again. I will be sure to put your, the Alder's entire paragraph or two into the communication, into the agenda body. And the agenda was amended because it needed a closed session notice. And that's what happened at 4:20 on Friday.
You had my motion, my communication to the attorney's office. I thought that was explain why that was done.
I'm sorry, say it again.
You had emailed my agenda item to the attorney's office. Could you explain?
Yes, that is a matter of course. So the attorney's office, as well as the police department, these are the departments that help to put together the agenda for the Protection and Policy Committee meeting. And so as a matter of process, we put together the agenda and then forward the agenda draft to the various departments so they can say, yes, that looks good, go ahead and publish.
So if Chairman Stoyer, if you could read my motion or my agenda is, the agenda item that was published was completely different, or not completely different, but quite a bit different than the full one that I submitted. Attorney Bungar, if we go ahead, if my other agenda item was published the way that I wrote it, that would be an entirely different vote than what was discussed in closed session, would it not?
Ultimately, it still relates to counsel that we have retained, and discussions regarding strategy and regarding outside counsel that we have retained for a particular matter is discussed in closed session. And that it's directly, while I understand that it does deal with strategy, because it deals with the strategy of whether we're hiring and continuing our representation with outside counsel, and that falls squarely within closed session protections to be able to freely discuss those issues, freely have questions, and have those questions answered. And while I understand it's worded differently than what the original item was, it's a direct nexus to that item regarding a law firm that's representing us in a particular matter.
Well, I'm going to chime in here. Normally when communications are given, to law department, to the clerk's office, my understanding is that whatever the alder writes will be brought forward the same way. So if you look at the agenda item is different than the text of the communication that Alder Burnett sent. I can't vouch for other times that this has happened on any other issue, but I think that's a point that needs to be brought forward, that, if somebody brings forward a communication, regardless of how you feel about it, it needs to be brought forward in the same manner. Am I out of line on that, Attorney Bungar?
No, that I understand that maybe it was truncated for just succinctness or space issues on civic clerk. I can't speak for freeze, but I don't believe it was we intentionally ever alter the alder's communications.
So the communication that's there, I'm going to read this communication now, and that is the communication that we're going to be looking at. So I'm
I
going to
have
read
a
it right.
question first before you read it.
All right, go ahead.
So maybe this be for the clerk or the attorney. Because the communication was chopped, I don't know what the proper word is for it, but because it has not been published correctly, what is the outcome? If we read it into the agenda now, can we follow that correct agenda item, or do we need to hold this
Oh,
meeting to get
let me-
it published?
Before the attorney, thank you, Alder. Before the attorney answers, let me just make sure you all understand that the text of all communications are attachments in the agenda. And these are attachments for the public. So Protection and Policy, as well as the Sex Offender Residency Board, have attachments that are confidential, so only the board members can see them. But this is not. So the original agenda, the original petition is an attachment in the agenda.
So
I think Alder Burnett was concerned about that, and I can vouch that what he wrote is in the agenda packet. So there's transparency there, I guess, in the sense that it's there. It's not being hidden. I read it. It's already been published. So all I'm doing is just reiterating it, and I'm doing it. Alder Scannell also sent in
I think I
something.
saw it before.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if we're saying it's been published correctly, then there's no need for additional discussion. We can make a motion to go into closed session.
Please read it, Alder Stoyer. They're completely different motions.
I'll read it and take the heat
But we
later.
need clarification. If it's been published the way Alder Burnett stated it, but it was downsized on the agenda, so they're both still the same.
Same.
Correct?
Attorney Bunger?
Yes, the purpose of the agenda is essentially to alert the public as to what items are going to be discussed, but sometimes not that agenda items morph because they're not supposed to, but sometimes the motions end up being different because the committee decides to do A, B, and C, or decides to add things to an agenda item or detach things from an agenda item. We've had situations where I think it was a couple weeks ago, where we had an agenda item and somebody was asking for an extension to issue their liquor license to one particular date, and on the floor, the motion was change that item to a different date. But the original communication for Alder Burnett's communication was published with the packet, so it has been made as part of the official record as far as what the context is of what Alder Burnett is requesting and what the conversation and debate and discussion is going to be surrounding.
And we are already aware of what the answer is because it was done in closed session.
Correct, originally.
So why are we going back and forth when I just heard from you just more information? So let's go strictly in the closed session instead of keep talking and talking and talking when we already know the answer. There's new information that we can't hear because we need to go into closed session. So my motion is to go into closed session.
All right, well, we have a motion, but Alder Gerlach first, and then I'll hit Alder Burnett. We don't have a second yet, but we will. Go ahead, Alder Gerlach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With very much respect to Alder Stevens, but also with respect to Alder Burnett, I'm looking right now at the communication. It's 2 sentences. I cannot see any damage or danger for Alder Stoyer to read it out loud, as Alder Burnett has asked. What's wrong with that? Let's just read it and then have a motion to go into closed session. Could we please do that?
I've been ready.
Would that be okay?
Sure, this will be the second time we've heard his motion, so, but please read it. Because it was already read at Common Council last week, so.
No. Okay, I'm going to read it. Everybody listen up. Okay, for the sake of full transparency to the public, for discussion with possible action that the Common Council officially request and receive a full list of funders and donors to Law Forward and States United Democracy Center in order for the city to retain them as legal counsel regarding ongoing election issues. These two groups be politically motivated, special interest groups, and all the citizens of Green Bay have a right to know who is funding them while the city confers with them on a legal defense. Before anybody else chimes in, it's like anything else. I was reading this petition as well, this communication, and Alder Burnett, with all due respect, you're kind of, you had your opinions here too, stating that these two groups seem to be politically motivated, whether they aren't. I'm just saying that you have an opinion here as well. I can have Alder Scannell, and probably in closed session, he has a whole statement here that I'm going to read as well. So good, bad, or indifferent, I understand what you're doing. You're looking for full transparency. I understand that, but we did vote on it at council, and some good points were brought up right now. But I read it. I appreciate all the Gerlach telling us to read it. And Alder, who's next? Who's next in the docket? Alder.
Excuse me, Alder. There is a motion to enter into closed session.
We have a motion, but we don't have a second yet.
All right. Can I say something?
Yes, and then we're going to vote on the motion then after that.
I'm going to vote no. I'm going to closed session. I'm saying, why are we're wasting time? Our answer from Attorney Bunger is that we cannot do what Alder Burnett is trying to ask us to do. We could do it, but it ain't going to mean anything. I don't know why we're beating a dead horse. I'm sorry, I hate the analogy, but why are we constantly talking about this? It's done. You said it went to council the second time and that he cannot bring it up because he had 48 hours and he didn't.
It can be revisited. It can be revisited. So
you can't. I thought she said that we could, it had to be the next council meeting and you had it already.
And Alder Gerlach talked about that. She already talked about that.
I mean, Attorney Bunger said that we cannot force them to do this. We can ask them, and I think we did.
Okay.
How can we? So why are we continually talking about it? I don't understand this. And go into closed session for what?
Okay. All right. Okay. Your point is made.
War. I'm
Your
sorry.
point is made. Your point is made. Alder Gerlach
wants to talk.
Okay.
Going into closed session because Attorney Bunger just told us she has new information for us. That's why I want to go into closed session and find out what she has to say. It might be exactly what Alder Burnett wants to hear.
Okay.
So we have a motion to go into closed session. Do we have a second? I'll motion. I'll second that. Sorry if I got some people angry on that, but I'd like to hear that as well. So.
Okay, I'll vote yes then.
All right. Who wants to read it? Alder Dorf, you're good at reading these things. Do you want to read it? Well,
I'm sorry, maybe someone on the committee.
All right.
I'll read it.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, isn't there a vote that is required before you read the language?
No.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Nay, who's against?
Nay.
Nay.
I don't want closed session. We can speak about any of this stuff in open session.
All right. Okay, it's 3-1. All right, go ahead.
The
Alder
committee may
Stevens.
convene in closed session pursuant to section 19.85, subsection I, paragraph G, Wisconsin stat, for the purpose of convening with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. The committee will thereafter convene an open session pursuant to section 19.85, subsection 2, Wisconsin stat, to take action in closed session if appropriate and consider the remainder of the agenda.
All right, so Clerk Jeffries, you got to let us know and
Yes, I will let you know when I have removed everyone from the room. I have a question though. Alder Dorf, I have Edward Dorf. Is that your phone or is that your spouse?
That would be my spouse downstairs and he'll
Okay.
get off
Okay.
and I won't open the door.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I am just going to put Lieutenant Allen, I am going to put you in the waiting room, and if you would be so kind as to hang out so that you can deliver the liquor violation report after this closed session is concluded.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we are recording. I don't know if everybody.
okay, so we can move on. All right, after coming out of closed session, the motion was to receive and place on file this item, number 3. Alder LaFave made that motion. It was seconded by Stevens. The vote was 3-1 with LaFave, Stoyer, and Stevens voting, and the nay was Span. Is that sufficient?
Yes, that is sufficient.
Alder Dorf, you're shaking your head.
Thought you had to actually vote in open
actually-
session. I mean,
No.
that's what I
Yes.
was understood.
Yes,
All right.
you have to
Okay.
just redo the vote, correct?
For the clarification. All right. In favor of receiving and placing on file, please say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Okay, 3-1.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we can move forward.
Yes, you may.
All right, finally to my favorite part, the liquor violation report, informational. It's been a while. Thank you, Lieutenant Allen, for hanging on.
Yep. Yeah, we have nothing to report this month or since the last meeting.
What a beautiful world. It's fantastic.
Receive and place on file.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Stevens. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? All right, who wants to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
By
Second.
Vanderleest, do we have a second by LaFave? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right,